Breaking down Beatdown Promotions 10 March 14th in Brisbane right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your main event.
Live from HBF Stadium Festival Hall. Melbourne Pavilion.
Not even backstage, we're literally outside. Was that the best fight card in Australian MMA history?
Call me crazy, but make sure you call me when I'm right.
Be good if the Aussie MMA Instagram page would give us a bit of glow up because we're killing
ladies and gentlemen, what a nice card from the brainchild that is Beatdown Promotions from Damian Beatdown Brown, former UFC fighter. 10th installment of Beatdown Promotions, which shows you just how great the promotion is going. Now, I like these sort of like 10s, 50s, 100s. They're always like a little bit of a sort of anniversary show. And look, there's lots to take away. Now, guys, before we get started, as always, check out our friends at Vex at vexmma.com to find out everything you need to get in the gym. And of course, if you need any combat sports insurance for your gym, event, whatever it is, combatsportsinsurance.au. Tell them Mitch sent you. Other than that, guys, of course, leave your opinions, leave your thoughts, especially on the YouTube video if you're not here already. Australian MMA _ drop your opinions in the comments. Always love chatting about all of this stuff. Now, if we run through the results of the card, of course, some of you might already know as of recording is about 9 o'clock Perth time on Monday. The event was on Friday. I wanted to sort of let the dust settle before diving into it because sometimes I can get a little quick on the trigger. You know, some guy wins and I'm like, put him in the Hall of Fame. And everyone's like, Mitch, it's his debut as an amateur. I'm like, So, you know, I'm learning, guys. I'm trying to just do become a bit of a victim of the moment. But if we run through the results, Jack James took out Blood Diamond for the inaugural and the first ever Beatdown Promotions title ever awarded. The welterweight championship was originally scheduled to be Joseph Luciano and Jack James a little while ago, but that didn't end up happening as Luciano moved on and Jack James, I believe, even got injured. So to then make this title, it's good for Beatdown Promotions to finally get a champion after Damian Beatdown Brown said he would never do titles. Well, look at him. People power. Look, so that's really, really good. Sarmad Jahanara took out Mad Max Kelly. We'll go into that. That was via decision. Nate Law beat Mario Loga, Tico round 2. Gene Alexander takes out Nick Thornton by KO round 1. Coby Porter takes out Manny Ritti by unanimous decision. And kicking off the card, which is where we're going to start, Jonathan Kuhn beating Caleb Miller via decision. Now, the entire main cards, if you will, was new. It was, I think, for the longest time, Beatdown Promotions said they would only ever be on YouTube. So Damian Brown, if anything, is a man that likes to evolve, and he is pretty open when things happen and things change in the business. And look, I think it's cool. I think that it's cool that they're on DAZN. Now, I didn't gotta be pretty honest here. It's what you've come to love. DAZN, which is known for a lot of boxing. I think it might even be the major sponsor for Canelo Alvarez in boxing. If you check out a lot of DAZN products, you'll see that they're not new to the fight game at all. I think it's one of their first Australian cards. I know it's their first Australian MMA card, but there was a lot of rumours of DAZN either bought someone. They buy Stan? I don't know. Stan Sports? I don't know. Something. Look, they're making moves in Australian MMA, which I think is good. Look, did I like that? I think their monthly subscription is $29.99 and I'm only going to buy it for Beatdown. That then takes my previous free card on YouTube to $30 for a Beatdown Promotions pay-per-view. I did not like that, especially when I think an Eternal card is, you know, $13 or $10 or whatever it is for UFC Fight Pass, and then you also get the UFC, where there's nothing else on DAZN that I've really gotten into just yet. So not knocking it. I just think $30 is a bit steep, but the pay-per-view, bloody, like I'd spend $50 on Australian MMA pay-per-views. Don't get me wrong, that's not kind of what I'm getting at here. I just think it's like it's a big turn, but I mean, it's only going to turn into, let's say you have 1,000 people, and last time I checked on YouTube, remember this is a business, Damien Brown is a businessman, and the more money that goes into Beatdown promotions, the better the product, and therefore, you know, more fighters get paid, you would hope, all that sort of stuff. Last time I checked on one of their previous cards, it was $10. Sorry, it was free, and they had about 1,000 people watching the live stream. Now, I don't have that more and all that sort of stuff, but at any one time you could see like who was watching. So, you know, at $30, that's like, let's say they all came over, which, yeah, that's probably not how the math works, but it would be like 30 grand. So that probably looks good. But once again, if you do it like, say, Hex or what Demolition and all that did with pay-per-views, they would get all the money, where with DAZN, they probably don't. So who knows? Maybe they're just wanting the audience so more people get DAZN. You sign up, you go, oh my God, there's so much other stuff here. And then you stick around, and then I can only imagine that DAZN is giving some money to Beatdown. But look, that's enough about the business side of it. That's just sort of my thought. I just found the app a little bit like, and I wasn't watching live, so you'll have to let me know, guys. I watched it a little bit later on, but it was like a little bit like clunky in the sense of if I left and came back, it like wasn't at the same spot. And look, once again, probably user error, not knocking DAZN, not knocking Beatdown. I think it's amazing that they've got a big time sort of player jumping on board, and there's obviously always going to be a bit of teething issues, but I'm just giving you my experience. The people at DAZN are lovely, by the way. They reached out to me as well, so shout out to them. Look, Beatdown Promotions 10. Let's kick it off with the first fight of the card at Eden's Hills Hotel. Now, it's a beautiful venue. I've been lucky enough to be there live. Damien Brown is one of the best hosts for not just fighters, officials, but especially media as well. He's got like a little room and a couch. It's bloody intimate. It's bloody lovely. Yeah, so it's always a good vibe. Now, first fight, Jonathan Kuhn taking on Caleb Miller. I think the official result was Jonathan Kuhn taking out Caleb Miller via decision. It was just a back and forth war. I really liked it. I personally think Caleb Miller won. No knock to Mr. Kuhn. But yeah, I think Caleb took it out. But either way, it's like, how do you not have Caleb Miller open up your card? And John Kuhn's super fun as well. So, I mean, look, either way, at the end of the day, it was a card opening bout. No sort of title implications or anything like that. Just a fun fight. So, gentlemen, well done. Next fight, Coby Porter taking out Manny Ritti via unanimous decision. Manny Ritti training out of Kick-Ass MMA in Perth under the great Steve Kennedy, and he's done a lot of work. Coby Porter has will kind of fight anyone, which is really, really cool. He's had like a real mixed bag. I think he's moves to 4-4. I think he was 3-4 heading in. Does not represent that record. Does not represent sort of the fighter he is. Like I said, he's kind of will fight anyone. I think he's super game, super well rounded. Manny Ritti is tough, and he has absolute like a dynamite in his fists. Pretty sure Manny Ritti won like the WA state novice championships or something for boxing, and he'd been boxing for like 6 weeks. It was something stupid like that, and he just went and like murked everyone. So look, very skilled, very dangerous. The way he ate those leg kicks, didn't even check them. Got out grappled. But if you've seen the sort of journey of Manny Ritti, you can see how far he's come. And he might end up being like a 10-6 guy or whatever, but you still would never want to fight him. He's super violent, super dangerous. Coby Porter did what he needed to do. As you can see, ate a hell of a lot of damage in that fight. And I think Porter is just sort of, I don't know, he gets to sort of get into the positives now into his record. Let me just double check that there, Coby Porter. I think he's definitely 4-4. Sorry guys, hang with me. Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, 4-4. And yeah, now he just sits to sort of, steady the ship and go forward. And he's definitely got the skills to sort of take on anyone. I actually wouldn't mind Coby Porter maybe getting like a Nikos Trepka, like someone else who has been kind of gypped with their record because they'll fight anyone. Or maybe even like a Raf Scott at lightweight. But yeah, it just sort of seems, I don't know, it seems like they pick a guy that has like 10 fights and it's like 5-5, and I feel like that's the fight for Coby Porter, because then if he can get another win, then he can start taking on those guys that are like 7-3, because it's gonna be really, really hard, because Coby Porter is tough and now his record's like 4-4, and like a lot of guys are gonna be like, well, I don't want to lose to a guy that's 4-4, like, high risk, low reward type thing. That's how some guys look at it. So I think, yeah, it might be a little bit tricky, but I think, yeah, like a Raf Scott or a Nikos Trepka, I think are 5-4 or 5-5, if I'm not mistaken. I think they could be fun fights. Manny Ritti moves to 2-3. He just, once again, you could even throw him with some of those guys. But look, I think Ritti, if he can go out and show a bit more of like the offensive grappling and sort of can dominate a little bit more on the ground, I think he could... Look, he will fight anyone, but yeah, look, he'll be back. He is super fun to watch, does a lot of damage. Everyone he fights walks away looking worse than he does, even when he wins. But yeah, look, he'll be back. Manny Ritti, a lot of fun. Coby Porter, the night was his. Next up was Gene Alexander taking on Nick Thornton. He won by KO round 1. It was a nice fight. Gene, I think last time I saw him, he took on Matty Ian. That's where the whole inside joke, outside joke of Australian top team getting in, additional flights at the weigh-ins. I think there was a bit of an issue there in their last event, but that was a fun fight too. Gene Alexander was a very talented amateur and just kind of hadn't gotten off to the right start. I think he was 0-3, and he started his professional career in 2021, so not off to the best start. But he's super talented. It was good to see Sean Gauchi in his corner, training out of Dunstan Death Squad. Of course, the great Ryan Dunstan, I think the former Australian MMA Team of the Year, Dunstan Death Squad. But yeah, it was good to see Gauchi there. Hopefully he'll be back very soon. He was over in Perth helping UFC Steve Erceg train for his fight with Brandon Moreno on March 29th. So obviously great training partner, Gene Alexander. I call him Jean. The commentator called him Gene. I call him Jean. Sean, let me know. But yeah, look, he was just fun. Good fighter. He's got a bit of work to do, obviously, to get that record back into the positives before we can start really hyping him. So he's just got to find a way to keep doing that. But yeah, start of a fight. Next up, Nate Law taking out Mario Loga. Now, Mario Loga is just... This is just a big ball of scary. Brother of title contender Paul Loga, bigger brother physically, and the Beatdown Promotions commentator, the start of a commentator, I really like him, Jakey Anderson, he referred to Mario Loga. He says he puts everything into everything, and man, he does. I think he's nicknamed the African hand grenade. He had an absolute viral knockout to kind of cap off his amateur career. Mario Loga was 5-0 heading into a professional. I think he was a guy that only wanted like one fight or something, and he was just so good that it was just like hard to walk away. Not too many people would fight that man. Nate Law is insane enough to do that. And look, he's just so cool, calm and collected, Nate Law. He looks like the illegitimate child of Ben Johnston, his head coach of the Fight Centre. We've chatted to Nate Law on the show before. Checked out that interview. Yeah, he's a very, very talented guy. I think Nate Law's got a massive future. I think Mario Loga is a very, very fun fighter. Don't know how far he goes or how far he wants to go, but he could very much kill multiple people on his journey in his career. But it's a real tough task. Nate Law ate some big shots. I think Mario Loga, if I remember correctly, dropped back for a guillotine, and Nate Law kind of found his way out of that and rained down some vicious ground and pound, and hence where we saw Nate Law becoming the victor. Now I think that moves Nate Law to 3-0. And I still think, even though he's 3-0, now this man's just like ridiculously like talented, and he's moved all the way over from New Zealand just to chase his dream. He essentially lives in the gym of the Fight Centre as a man that helps with his insurance. I don't know if that's allowed, but he lives in, I think, a caravan out the back, and just, you know, like the TV series, it's a Warrior. So one with Nick Jonas in it. That guy? There's a guy. You guys, yeah, 100%. 100% you guys know what I'm talking about. The guy like lives out in his caravan and then just trains. That's like Nate Law. Nick Jonas. Come on, guys, do it with me. Nick Jonas MMA show. What was it called? Kingdom. Great TV show. And this dude like lives out in his caravan and basically just like trains to be a champion. That's what Nate Law is. Yeah, very, very talented guy. Got a lot of upside. Very likable, good-looking kid. World's his oyster. I think at 3-0, I think he's 22. I could be wrong, but I know he's young. I actually think you don't rush him too fast, Nate Law, despite him doing very well. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be against him fighting like Max Kelly, who actually went on to lose later on in the night in the co-main event. He's been looking amazing recently. I think it'd be cool. Max Kelly, kind of bit of redemption for Base Training Center, which is Mario Loga. They train together. That could be kind of cool. You take it nice and slow for Nate Law. If he gets through Mad Max Kelly, kind of then you start feeding him, you know, the real contenders, you know, but right now, you know, you're going to throw a Nate Law into like a Kit Campbell or even a David Martinez, like probably not in the welterweight division. Not saying he wouldn't do well, but it's just like Ben Johnston is who head coach of the Fight Centre, former Eternal MMA middleweight champion. Ben Johnston is incredibly intelligent with like how he gets his fighters sort of ready for the next level. If you need any sort of proof of that, look at Darcy Vendy, like critiqued for many a year, and now look at him, he's probably the most exciting prospect we have in this country. So Benny Johnston kind of already probably has a paved out path for Nate Law, and I reckon, yeah, like not even like a Sarmad Jahanara, who, you know, we'll talk about next, who actually beat Max Kelly. I don't even think that's the fight you give Nate Law. I think it is like a Max Kelly. So even though Max Kelly lost, he's got a lot of star power still. You give it to him at Beatdown. It's a tough task. He's good on the ground. He's good on the feet. Mad Max Kelly can kind of bang with anyone. So I think you give that to Nate Law again. Have him stay nice and calm. If he takes out Mad Max Kelly, you know, he's 4-0 and he's even more exciting as a prospect. So look, as a man that owns 0 promotions and a man that has really no skin in this game whatsoever, I think that's what Ben Johnston and the team should do. Now, in terms of Mario Loga, you just give him any man walking the face of the planet with a death wish, because imagine being the African hand grenade that just murks people, and like now he's mad. So that'd be fun. But, you know, get life insurance before you sign to fight him. Now, we move on to the co-main event of Beatdown Promotions 10 Intel Hotel in Brisbane, March 14th. Very excited. We just mentioned the man himself, Mad Max Kelly. Give him a round of applause, because that man was getting ready to take on Hoshi Friedrich, who's like a black belt and a grappling heavy guy. And he gets injured, like 2 weeks out, I think it was. And Sarmad Jahanara steps in, who is like solely striking. And Mad Max Kelly just went, yeah, all right, let's go. And I think like props to him, because he didn't have to do that. He's always ready for a fight. And it's not like Max went, all right, cool, let's sort of grapple. It's like he even was striking with him too. So Yeah, unfortunate for Max. He's an absolute stud. Commentator said something about it looked like he caught a kick and maybe broke his arm. I have heard nothing about that, and even if he did, I'm assuming that Mad Max Kelly would snap his arm off and hit you with it. Like, he's that tough. So, look, sad news for him to lose, but I don't think his career is kind of wrecked from it at all, because I think Sarmad is probably officially now probably going to be one of the most underrated guys in Australian MMA. He, if you don't know Sarmad, trains out of Absolute MMA, rarely talked about. Obviously, with the field of Dylan Lahari, Jack Jenkins, Semakade Kakembo, Joseph Luciano, Khan Offley, all Absolute MMA under the legendary Simon Carson. But Sarmad's very, very good. He fought to what I think was a Fight of the Year in 2022 at Eternal against Khan Diata, who has basically been picked to get a title shot any time now, or at least one fight away type thing. Khan is a very, very violent striker, and Sarmad, basically everyone that's beat Khan has grappled him, and Sarmad struck with him and won via split decision. So yeah, Sarmad is as game as they come, but that was, I think, 2 years ago, maybe longer. So yeah, 2 years out of the cage, and he comes back and he fights like a man that was in great form, Mad Max Kelly, who took out Sam Miles, which is Sarmad's teammate, at the last or 2 beatdowns ago. So yeah, look, very, very impressive. Sarmad, like I said, keep an eye on him. He's going to be one of those guys that is, by the end of the year, if everything goes right, a proper contender. And last year, no one knew who the fuck he was. So look, excellent job, Sarmad. Just controlled the game, did really good. Couldn't be happier for him. Now, another guy I could not be happier for. Oh, actually, before I move on, fights I think we should do. I know you guys didn't ask. I think for Mad Max Kelly, you rebook Hoshi Friedrich. I just think you make that fight that, like, it makes sense. Max was the A side in that fight anyway. It kind of loses no real shine. You chuck it back on beatdown, you invite Hoshi back again, and you do it. And I think that's the fight. I think that's the fight to make. Now, Sarmad, I think you do Khan Diata too. I just think, like, Khan's kind of done more, obviously, in the last 2 years, but Sarmad still beat him and looked good. So I think it's good, like, negotiation. Like, Sarmad's bringing a victory and a nice recent win, and Khan's bringing, like, a nice little winning streak, and it was a split decision. So I think that's like a really good fight to make. Or hear me out. I don't know what he's doing, but Sarmad Jahanara taking on Caleb Rideout, who just recently fell short to Kit Campbell for the Hex title. I think that would be a good way to get Sarmad really into the mix. And Caleb lost round 1, so kind of not a great outing. And therefore, I think that kind of, once again, you get to meet in the middle a little bit. Caleb obviously still the higher up guy who actually weirdly had a title shot or had a title match with Sarmad's training partner Joseph Luciano before he picked up the Eternal Welterweight title. But I think that could work. Yeah, that's my 2 bets. I mean, look, I know D. Samasoni's swinging around out there, and that fight could happen as well. But I actually wouldn't even mind D. Samasoni versus Mad Max Kelly now that we're talking about it. So there you go. I'm going to sit both the boys down. Mad Max Kelly, you can pick between Hoshi and D. Samasoni. And Sarmad, you can pick between Khan Diata and Caleb Rideout. There you go. That's my fantasy promotion. Remember, guys, let me know your thoughts, Australian MMA _ in the comments of that YouTube. Let me know. We now move on to the main event of Beatdown Promotions 10, the inaugural welterweight championship, the okay, I'll listen to the audience title. Damian Brown said he was never going to do title fights, and he did. It's a beautiful looking title. I really like it. Gives me a little bit like Bellator vibes because I really like their belt. This is different, and I like that he kind of stayed true to this. I like that Damian Brown made it 3 rounds. It's different. Where there's, I think, there's like amateur title fights that are 5 rounds, you know? So I think it was great that Damien sort of stayed true to 3 rounds. But as like a fan, obviously I would have rather to see 5 rounds. Probably not that fight because it was very, very grappling heavy, and I can see how the crowd might have been like not impressed. But I think it was a nice chess match. Bricktop Jack James is a very, very underrated contender, and I think he's right there. I think this should move him into, I think he was ranked number 8 as per Tapology. I think this one moves him into the top 5, maybe top 3. I wouldn't be surprised if Eternal try to steal him for David Martinez, or Kit Campbell and that try to steal him for Hex, but I don't see that happening. I think he's a beatdown boy through and through, and we won't ever see those bouts. Now, Blood Diamond, he was taken on, obviously got the victory by unanimous decision. Blood Diamond, I think he's 36, 37 now. We had him on the show as well, training out of City Kickboxing. He was 3-0, obviously really, really good stand-up kickboxer. He won King of the Ring, which is basically like, it's like solidifies you in New Zealand as like you can train at City Kickboxing. You have to have won King of the Ring. Like, it just means you're like a really, really awesome stand-up fighter. He went 3-0 and then he moved on to the UFC. Unfortunately went 0-3, and now I think he now moves to 3-5 after he recently lost to Raymart Quintana at Hex. So Blood Diamond, look, he came out good. He looked good. He's tough as shit. I think he made Jack look not as impressive because of how good his like grappling defense was, or at least submission defense. He fought the chokes really well. He was stuck in a fully locked triangle and in an armbar with like 15 seconds to go, which doesn't seem like a lot of time, but like that's enough time to like get smoked, and he had the wherewithal to sort of survive that. So yeah, it unfortunately didn't get Jack that sort of dominant finish that would have us all talking, and unfortunately the 3-4 record doesn't look that great for Jack James, but do not get it twisted. Blood Diamond is very talented, and I don't care what you all say. He is much better than his record, and he's much better than his reputation in Oceania. Jack, like he came out and grappled Jack James early, which was very surprising, and it let me know that Blood Diamond was like here to fight. Jack James then kind of did what he does, turned it all around, just made it really gritty and grindy, and nearly got the sub a few times, but unfortunately, like I said, Blood Diamond just did all the right things, and it eventually went to a decision. Like I said, this is where like a round 4 and round 5 would have been super beneficial, but I know why Damian Brown did that, because he doesn't want fighters fighting 5 rounds. He thinks it's silly outside the UFC, which I fully understand. If I had to wager a bet, I would say Blood Diamond is done. Not to say that he isn't good enough, but it's like 3-5. It's really hard. Like, he's just going to fight up-and-coming contenders. Maybe that's what he does. Who knows? But it's really tricky because he's like a very, very dangerous guy, and he could put you into orbit. But it's 3-5, so not too many guys are going to want to take that risk. Once again, we're not talking about fighters and fighters being tough and not being scared, but like when you're a professional, you're a business. And I don't think a lot of these guys are going to want to take that risk. As for Jack James, I think he is one away from being one away to the big show, if you get what I'm saying. So, like I said, I'd like him to take on a David Martinez or a Kit Campbell, that sort of level. But I think a fighter who has fought on Beatdown before, and he most recently picked up a victory in Adelaide. I'm thinking, hear me out, Jack James, Matt Vale. Matt Vale just picked up the Diamondback Championship. Maybe he wants to come on over to Beatdown Promotions in, when's their next card? June, I think it is. May, June, around about that time. Surely Jack James, you know, that's a really... Matt Vale looks good. Again, he's got the victory. Jack James takes out Matt Vale. then he's Kit Gamble or Martinez away from being in the UFC. I think that's like the perfect bridge. And then Matt Vale gets his opportunity to take out a really, really tough contender. I don't think that's it for Matt Vale. I think there's still some really, really fun fights to be had. And I still think there's a chance to at least get to the PFL and kind of all that sort of stuff. I do think the UFC door might be a bit closed just because they're a bit brutal on dudes just above puberty. But yeah, I think that's the fight to make if I had my little fantasy promotion. And shout out to Jack James. Do you know his 2 losses? I think he's 7-2 now. His 2 losses. Jono McAuliffe, who's in the UFC. Darcy Vendy, who is going to be in the UFC and is the Eternal MMA middleweight boogeyman. So let that sink in. His 2 losses are a guy that's in the UFC and a middleweight champion. The guy weight class heavier. That's how good Jack James is. Anyway, I'm a believer. Guys, look, if you enjoyed it, go get DAZN, watch some other stuff, and download all the pay-per-views. Make sure you subscribe, Australian MMA _ YouTube, Spotify, whatever you're on. Let me know your thoughts. If you're a promoter, do that thing where you call me and you say you're mad at me. Or if you're a fighter and you're upset because I said bad things about your teammate, no disrespect. This is my thoughts. This is why I love me. This is why I love you guys. See you next time. Peace.